Hello, everybody, and welcome to our lesson in how to use GitHub and how to connect to GitHub from your computer terminal. When most people hear of Git, they think of GitHub, which is a web interface that allows people to share and collaborate on code seamlessly. But Git is also a Unix or Bash type language. They call it Git Bash, where you will use your terminal to set up connections to GitHub and other things, and it can be one of the trickier parts. So we have we'll go over how to make your computer connect to GitHub and talk so that it'll sync between the two, and what those simple Git commands are. It is simple, but it gets tricky. So we're laying this out in a way that is sort of practical, and you can get a feel for it and have something to come back to if you do it again. So the first thing we need to do is make sure GitHub is okay talking to your computer. And the way we do that is through an SSH key. And so you'll want to go to your home directory to get that. So we'll go to the home directory is // sorry, I need to do cd // and what we can see here is there's a .ssh file here on this line for my computer, and that's where a secure code is for your computer. So it's a unique ID that says this is my computer, and if you have this key, then we can talk to each other. So if two people have the same key, then they're connected. Okay, so we want to go into that SSH folder. And if we list there, you'll see these ID RSA.pub, and known hosts. If you don't already have a key, there's instruction in our markdown file on how to make one. But for most people, you'll have one here. And so let's see what that is. We're going to look in the cat rsa.pub, meaning public, and how to connect in different ways in the public. You might do this for many other things as well. Okay, so here's what we have is this big long string, but it starts with SSH RSA. That's what you want. And then it says a big long keyword so that we know it's a really secure connection and that this is the computer that it's willing to connect to. Okay, so what we need to do is copy and paste all of that to Apple C, and then we'll go to the GitHub, going to your GitHub, and you'll see here there's a button called settings. If you zoom out, I have it zoomed in for you, but it usually is right up here in that bar. Okay, so let's go into settings, and what we can want to do is deploy keys. So this is an SSH key, and this is the way we're going to connect it. So let's hit deploy keys. And you can see I already have one here, but you might not have anything, and you can always add a new one. So add deploy key, and scroll down. I'm going to say my local bash. So it knows that it's on my actual hard drive in my computer. And this is what we saw, that SSH RA. And so we're going to just paste in what we had here and add key. Oh, I'm already using that key, but you might now have a new key. And if you do, if you see that key symbol like here, then you're good to go. Okay, so now back to the terminal. We go to a place, and this is worth thinking about before you do this. For this exercise, I'm just going to go to my documents folder because I don't use it that often. And so you can see I have some folders in here, and we're going to start a Git connection to this folder. So usually you want a folder where you're going to work in a starting directory, a top directory to install this. So to do that, you just simply go here to git init. Okay, so git init is the first step. So it's reinitializing. I already made that one. So yours will say probably made an empty Git repository. So now let's see what we have in here. Okay, so now we have a .git folder. So that means Git knows where to go to sync, and it has its own things here that we won't go into. But we now have a new hidden folder .folder for this Git. So now we want to tell Git what to sync to on the web. So we have a Git spot now in our local computer, and we're going to go to the web and get the Git website thing to clone it into our computer here. So what we want to do that is git clone, and then we're here. And when I say paste URL, you just go to the class GitHub, and you'll see in this code button right here, if you drop that down, you're going to want the SSH, because we're going to make a direct connection here. If you use HTTPS, you're going to have to connect and password in every time. So SSH will make sure you can just seamlessly pass data to GitHub and do that. So what you want to do is clone that by just creating the clipboard here, and then git clone forward, and then it'll give that SSH. There we go. Okay, so so it made that, and now let's see what we have here. Whoa, there's a whole new folder called Class 2021. Let's see what's in there. Sorry. Okay, now what we see is what we see on the website here. So on the Git web, we see what we have in this folder. So now we are connected and synced to GitHub. And so let's change GitHub. Let's make it do something different. Okay, so let's make a new file. So let's say you're working on a collaboration and you want to get your new code up to GitHub. You would just, let's say you made a new file called git test.rmd. Okay, so we've used nano before, test rmd to make the file, and then say hello or hello world, and then Control X. Yes, you can type anything you want, it doesn't matter, because we're just going to show you how Git will know that something new happened here. Okay, so we exited nano, and now we're going to need to add this file. So if you want to check what's going on, you hit git status, and it says, oh, I see an untracked new file, test.rmd. So git status is a good one here. And now we need to add this file to track it. So we'll do git add test.rmd. Okay, so it added it. So now we'll go to git status again. And so now we see a new file, and it's in a different color. It's in yellow instead of red, meaning it's going to be tracked. Okay, but I don't want to be working on the master branch right now because I'm probably collaborating with somebody on a different branch in GitHub, which we explained in the video before. And so what we want to do is change branches. And to do that, you do git checkout git b for branch -b for branch, and students was that other branch I mentioned we have on this Git repository to collaborate. Okay, so it said it switched to a new branch, and that's great. Sometimes it gets tricky or whatever, and we put in some code here for you that if you want, you can just push to an origin of a branch name and sort of force push it to get there. Okay, so now we've added our file to Git, so it knows to track it, and now we have to commit that to tracking, and then we'll push it up to the GitHub website. Okay, so let's do that. So we'll do git commit -m stands for markdown, and we're just saying that to our collaborator, we're adding .rmd file. So they'll know what's changed. Okay, so we committed it and says, okay, one file changed. And then we need to push. And this is really important, and it's denoted down below. But it's really important to push after wherever you end a session. So then we'll just do git push. I know these things seem weird, but you'll get used to them and they'll become second nature. Okay, so we git push. And voila. So what we now can go look on our the GitHub site and see how it's changed. That now, if we look here on our thing, we have an RMD file on GitHub. All right, I had to change that from my previous version. That's how GitHub works, and that's actually how you log the differences on the web-based version. But so we can now see we have a new file that is tracked on GitHub, and we went right from here straight to the GitHub interface on the web. All right, so as you saw there was some differences. So now we can see that these differences here, you could look in Git log and look at them as well. It's much easier to look at what was changed in a file on the web interface. So, all right, so you've now made your first new file and pushed it to GitHub. And it's always good to push before you end a session, and remember to pull before you start a session, because your collaborators may have changed something on the branch and you want to pull that in. And that's just a good thing to get into. If you don't, it gets really hectic and but you can fix it and you can always go back. It's just a lot of extra work. So the last thing we'll talk about is adding a .git ignore file. We can see here that it would be a dot file, and we don't have, I do have a git ignore. You probably won't have one there. You might want to do touch.gitignore or nano.gitignore and get in there. But we can see what my git ignore is, and you can see these are all the files I've pasted for you here. These are large sized files, so you don't typically want to have these put up on GitHub because GitHub, the idea is you use very little space just for code and not output files of any kind. And it can be really dangerous if you do add one of these. GitHub will reject it, and knowing it's too big as well. So from that, I think we're all good. We saw how we could go from our terminal here and see that we can change a file on our terminal, like test.rmd, and then git add it, git commit it, tell our collaborators what we're doing, and then git push, and then the actual web version of GitHub will change with our new file that we just changed 3 minutes ago. All right, thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. In the meantime, code light.